One of the most terrifying prisons in New York, the Metropolitan Detention Center, is where many inmates facing trial in the city are currently housed. Today we look at 10 notorious inmates held inside Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, which has been named the most troubled facility in the Bureau of Prisons. Welcome to our video on the MDC. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, as we have a new video publishing every single week, and we have a special Tower of London video coming next week. Number 10. Allison Mack. Allison Mack, once widely recognised for her role as Chloe Sullivan in the hit television series Smallville, but saw her acting career eclipsed by her deep involvement in Nixum, a group that was eventually exposed as a sex trafficking cult. Mack joined Nixum in 2006, and the organisation was initially presented as a multi-level marketing company, offering self-help and personal development courses. NXIVM was founded by Keith Raniere. More about him later in the video. Mack quickly became a high-ranking member, actively participating in various Nixum programs, including co-creating The Source, which aimed to recruit actors. As a master in Nixum, Mack was instrumental in recruiting women into the group, with recruits always misled, believing they were joining a supportive women-only organisation. Mack was arrested by federal authorities in 2018 on charges of sex trafficking conspiracy, and forced labour conspiracy related to her involvement in Nixum. In 2019, Mack pleaded guilty to racketeering conspiracy charges, admitting to state law extortion and forced labour. Later, she expressed remorse and guilt, repudiating Raniere and apologising to her victims. She was held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, New York for only 4 days, and was released on a $5 million bond and held under house arrest under the custody of her parents in California. Facing up to 15 years in prison, Mack entered into active plea negotiations with the authorities and was later sentenced to 3 years in prison, followed by 3 years of probation, 1,000 hours of community service, and a fine of $20,000. She served 1 year, 9 months, and 20 days of a 3-year sentence at the low-security United States federal prison for female inmates in Dublin, California. Number 9. Juan Orlando Hernandez Alvarado. Serving as the President of Honduras for 2 consecutive terms, from 2014 to 2022, his political career became deeply entwined with allegations of drug trafficking and corruption, ultimately leading to his conviction in the United States. Charges against Alvarado revolved around his alleged involvement in a massive and violent drug trafficking conspiracy. He was accused of using his powerful positions as a congressman, president of the Honduran National Congress, and then as president, to facilitate the import of over 400 tons of cocaine into the US. Hernandez allegedly received millions of dollars in bribes from some of the largest and most violent drug trafficking organizations, including the Sinaloa cartel. These bribes were said to have fueled his rise in Honduran politics. This involved using Honduran state institutions, including the Honduran National Police and military, to safeguard cocaine shipments as they transited through Honduras towards the United States. He was accused of selectively upholding extraditions of certain drug traffickers who threatened his power, while simultaneously promising safety to those who bribed him and followed his instructions. Shortly after leaving office in January 2022, the US government requested Hernandez's extradition for his alleged involvement in narcotics. He was arrested at his home in Tegucigalpa in in February 2022. Transferred to the Metropolitan Detention Center while he faced trial, Alvarado complained about the conditions in which he is being held, saying it was akin to being a prisoner of war and saying they were psychologically debilitating. Found guilty on the 8th of March 2024, he was sentenced to 45 years in prison and transferred to the United States Penitentiary in Hazleton, with a release date of the 19th June 2060. Number 8. R. Kelly. Accusations against R. Kelly have spanned nearly 30 years, with whispers and formal complaints dating back to the 1990s. Despite early lawsuits and even a 2008 acquittal on child pornography charges in Chicago, public scrutiny intensified significantly with the rise of the Me Too movement. R. Kelly faced 2 major federal trials that led to his convictions, one in New York and one in Chicago that involved racketeering, forced labor, sex trafficking, and bribery. He served a portion of his incarceration at the MDC while on trial in New York City and was later transferred to Chicago's Metropolitan Correctional Center, where he was assaulted in his cell by another inmate. In September 2021, a federal jury in Brooklyn, New York, convicted Kelly on all 9 counts of the superseding indictment, including racketeering predicated on sexual exploitation of children, forced labor, and Mann Act violations. In June 2022, R. Kelly was sentenced to 30 years in prison for these crimes and was later sentenced to a concurrent 20 years from the trial in Chicago, adding 1 year to his total sentence. He has faced multiple security issues in prison, including one inmate who said he was asked to assassinate the singer while serving time in another prison. He is currently serving his sentence at the Federal Correctional Complex, Butner, North Carolina, and is scheduled for release on December 21st, 2045. Number 7. Rafael Caro Quintero. Notorious Mexican former drug lord Quintero co-founded the Guadalajara cartel in the late 1970s, making him a significant figure in the history of drug trafficking in Mexico. Caro Quintero was a pioneer in industrial-scale marijuana cultivation and distribution. His organization, the Guadalajara Cartel, developed extensive networks to move large quantities of marijuana, heroin, and methamphetamine from Mexico into the United States. In 1985, Caro Quintero allegedly ordered the abduction, torture, and murder of DEA Special Agent Enrique Kiki Camarena, who was investigating Caro Quintero's operations and was believed to be responsible for a major raid on one of Caro Quintero's ranches. Following Camarena's murder, Caro Quintero fled to Costa Rica, but was arrested and extradited to Mexico in April 1985. He was sentenced to 40 years in prison in Mexico for the murder of Camarena and other related crimes. After serving 28 years of his sentence, Caro Quintero was controversially released from a Mexican prison in August 2013 due to an issue with his trial, and this was later overturned by Mexico's Supreme Court. By then, Caro Quintero had already disappeared and gone into hiding with the US government, intensely pursuing his recapture, adding him to the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list in 2018 and offering a significant reward. On July 15, 2022, Mexican forces recaptured Caro Quintero in the town of San Simon in Sinaloa State, nearly a decade after his release. He was found hiding in brush with the help of a search dog. Extradited to the United States on February 27, 2025, he was arraigned in federal court in Brooklyn, New York, where his stay at the MDC began. Number 6. Luigi Mangione. Luigi Mangione is accused of the killing of Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, on December 4th, 2024 in Midtown Manhattan, and the case became one of the biggest murders covered on TV due to its brazen nature. Thompson was shot and killed as he walked to an investor conference. Surveillance video showed a masked gunman shooting Thompson from behind. Authorities alleged that Mangione meticulously planned the execution, targeting Thompson due to his perceived grievances against the healthcare industry. Investigators found a notebook in Mangione's possession with writings expressing hostility towards the health insurance industry and wealthy executives. The words delay, deny, and depose were reportedly scrawled on ammunition casings found at the crime scene, mimicking a phrase used to describe how insurers avoid paying claims. A 5-day nationwide manhunt ensued following the shooting. On December 9th, 2024, Luigi Mangione was arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania, after being recognized by a fast food restaurant worker. When apprehended, he was carrying a 3D printed pistol and suppressor, consistent with the weapon used in the attack. He also had a short handwritten letter criticizing the American healthcare system, an American passport, and multiple fraudulent IDs, including one he used to check into a Manhattan hostel prior to the shooting. Police stated that fingerprints found on a water bottle and a Kind bar near the crime scene matched Mangione's prints taken at the time of his arrest. He faces a slew of both state and federal charges, including first-degree murder in furtherance of terrorism, using a firearm to commit murder, and interstate stalking resulting in death. Mangione is currently incarcerated at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn without bond and has pleaded not guilty to all federal charges as well. Number 5. Ghislaine Maxwell. Once a prominent British socialite, Maxwell is now a convicted sex offender serving a lengthy prison sentence in the United States for her role in facilitating the sexual abuse of underage girls by her late husband. Maxwell was accused of creating an environment where the abuse could occur, often being present during initial interactions between Epstein and the girls, and even participating in some of the crimes. Many of the victims were coerced into travelling to various properties across the US and beyond, including mansions in Florida, New York, New Mexico, and his private island in the US Virgin Islands. Maxwell was arrested by the FBI in July 2020 after being in hiding for some time and was held in the women's section of the Metropolitan Detention Center. Her time in custody, both pre-trial and post-conviction, has been marked by complaints from her legal team about the conditions of her confinement, including being subjected to punitive conditions, including constant surveillance, frequent interruptions to her sleep, and numerous searches. She was charged with multiple federal counts, and after a month-long trial in late 2021, a jury found her guilty on 5 of the 6 federal charges. She was then transferred to FCY Tallahassee, which offers various programs and activities, including art, music, and sports, while Maxwell has begun helping the US government investigate her late husband's crimes further. Number 4. Vincent Basciano. Known as Vinny Gorgeous, due to his ownership of a beauty salon and his meticulous appearance, Basciano is an American mobster who became acting boss of the Bonanno crime family. He received a 1-year imprisonment for weapons possession in 1997 before being convicted of racketeering, conspiracy, illegal gambling, attempted murder in 2006. In August 2007, he was convicted of the 2001 murder of Frank San Santoro, who had attempted to kidnap Basciano's son. He was also found guilty of soliciting the murders of Dominic Martino and Salvatore Vitale, along with additional illegal gambling charges and marijuana distribution. In May 2011, Basciano was convicted of ordering the 2004 murder of Randolph "Randy" Pizzolo. Prosecutors had sought the death penalty for this conviction, but a jury rejected it, sentencing him to life imprisonment instead. Basciano was also alleged to have conspired to kill prosecutor Greg Andres, an accusation that came to light after former Bonanno boss Joseph Massino became a government informant and wore a wire while imprisoned with Basciano. He was held for a time inside the MDC but has spent time in many facilities such as the Supermax prison, ADX Florence, United States Penitentiary, Florence High, USP Big Sandy, and is currently incarcerated at United States Penitentiary, Coleman. His conditions of confinement have been restrictive, with periods in solitary confinement and limitations on visitor contact, due to concerns he might continue to direct Bonanno crime family affairs from prison, including ordering acts of violence. Number 3. Sayfullo Saipov. On October 31st, 2017, Sayfullo Saipov drove a rented pickup truck onto a bike path in Lower Manhattan, killing 8 people and injuring at least 12 others. He then crashed into a school bus, exited the truck, was shot by a policeman, and then arrested. He was indicted on 28 counts, which included 8 counts of murder in aid of racketeering, 12 counts of attempted murder in aid of racketeering, destruction of a motor vehicle, and providing material support for a terrorist organisation. Saipov was convicted of all 28 counts in the indictment, including murder for the purpose of gaining entrance to a racketeering enterprise, notably ISIS, and was formally sentenced on May 17, 2023. Held in the MDC for the duration of his trial, a jury was unable to reach a unanimous verdict on whether to authorise the death penalty, resulting in the mandatory life imprisonment sentence. Number 2. Ronell Wilson. Wilson was the leader of a violent drug gang known as the Stapleton Crew. On March 10, 2003, detectives Nemerin and Andrews were working undercover, attempting to purchase a gun from members of the Stapleton Crew. Wilson and an associate met with the officers, and Wilson instructed them to drive to a second location, where he obtained a .44 caliber revolver. Wilson, having detected that the men were police officers, used the revolver to murder both detectives' execution style and steal their car. In December 2006, he was found guilty of capital murders and other related charges, including 2 counts of murder in aid of racketeering, carjacking resulting in death, and 2 counts of use of a firearm during a crime of violence resulting in death. While incarcerated at the Metropolitan Detention Center in 2012, he fathered a child with a federal officer, Nancy Gonzalez. Gonzalez subsequently pleaded guilty to charges related to the incident and was sentenced to prison. On March 15, 2016, a federal judge ruled that Wilson could not be executed because he met the legal standard for intellectual disability. This decision vacated his death sentence, and he was resentenced to life imprisonment without parole. As of 2024, Wilson is serving his sentence at USP Coleman 2 in Sumter County, Florida, and he has also been held at the United States Penitentiary Terre Haute. Number 1. Keith Raniere. The founder of the purported self-help organisation Nixum, Raniere was convicted of leading a criminal enterprise involved in severe exploitation and abuse. He created a secret sorority called DOS, or Dominus Obsequious Sororium, where women were recruited under false pretenses, were required to provide collateral to ensure their obedience. Dos. Slaves were branded with his initials in their pelvic area using a cauterizing pen. One victim was trafficked for labor and services and confined to a room for nearly 2 years and denied medical care and human contact for months. Prosecutors stated Raniere induced shame and guilt to control co-conspirators who helped recruit and groom sexual partners for him. Initially held at the Metropolitan Detention Center, he engaged in illegal communications with a supporter that led to him being moved to another unit by authorities due to concerns about him attempting to direct activities from prison. Keith Raniere was sentenced to 120 years in prison by a federal judge in Brooklyn on October 27, 2020, and this effectively means he will serve life in prison. He was also ordered to pay a fine of $1,750,000, a $15,000 assessment, and $3.5 million in restitution to 21 different victims. Thanks for watching. We have hundreds more true crime videos, and you can check out 2 of them in the boxes above. Remember to subscribe with notifications as we have videos publishing every week.